Hi, I'm Ray Morgan. Welcome to Raising Veg. Hi everybody, welcome back to the doghouse, the laboratory, or as it's more commonly known, the garden shed. So today, as the intro and title suggests, we're going to take a look at putting in winter onions, overwintering onions, from onion sets. But before we get into that, what I would suggest is there is a tremendous amount of information already on the internet regarding onions, all the varieties, and tremendous amount of information. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through all the ins and outs of growing onions, but if you are extremely keen on making onions a special vegetable, then I would suggest that you delve into it, because there is a lot of specialist information. What I'm going to deal with today is give you a quick rundown basically of the life cycle of an onion, because it is important, even though I only grow them obviously for the kitchen. I do show the odd one or two in Village Show, and some of the things are important to understand. What some years you have success with onions, some years you don't. So we'll take a quick look at the life cycle of an onion. Basically, the first thing that is possibly not understood or not known is that an onion is a biannual, which means it takes 2 years from seed to seed, the full cycle. In other words, once you plant your little seed, it grows through, produces an onion, but then that is only the halfway stage. If left, it will continue and you will produce a flower in the second year, where you then get the seeds. So what I mean by that is, let's take a look at the basic kitchen onion. This is in fact the halfway stage. This is where we lift them on the allotment, or when you grow them. It goes from seed, and as you know, it produces a nice onion like this. The top leaves go yellow, they die, they fall over, we lift them and we eat them. The fact is that this is only the halfway stage of the life cycle of an onion, because I grew this year. This is off my allotment. It's not a very big one, but it's certainly good enough for the kitchen. And as you see here, it looks sort of dead, but in actual fact it's still a live onion. If I put this back into the ground, it will produce roots, it will continue to grow. The bulb won't get any bigger, but it will produce long green stems, and it will produce a flower. And from that flower, once it dies, you will get your onion seeds. So that's the basic cycle of the onion. We only lift them halfway through its life cycle and eat them at that stage. That's one of the first things that I think is important to understand. The second factor with onions is that there are so many different varieties, and they all have their specialities. But the thing about an onion is it is very light sensitive. You may have heard or seen them on the packets as short day onions or long day onions, and certainly in countries like the USA it is very relevant, depending on where you live, whether you grow short day onions or long day onions. And basically what it means is that the onion from seed will not start to bulb up. It won't produce the bulb until daylight hours reaches a certain length. Hence short day onions, long day onions. Here in this country, possibly the most common is long day onion, because of the length of our summer. But it will give you some idea of why, depending on when you plant your onion sets, some years they seem to bulb up very quick. Some years maybe not so quick, even though you may plant them round about the same time. And this is one of the reasons whether we have a really good long sunny summer or whether we get a short overcast summer can actually make a difference to the size of the bulb. So a point to remember. Basically in this country we needn't worry too much. All the onions that are sold are generally of the same day length. So that's like I say, that's another factor about the onions, which brings me then to what are we doing? We're putting in onion sets, overwintering onion sets, which are obviously these little things. And what they are is the same thing. They grow the onion from seed, but before, just as it starts to bulb up, as you can see, they stop its life cycle, and they lift them, dry them, and they're ready to go. Again, we will plant those, and the roots are very quick to get going, and away it goes. And you may find that's one of the reasons why sometimes when you plant onion sets, they are susceptible to actually go into seed, because you've tricked it into its part of its life cycle, and for whatever reason, because of that, it thinks it's in its second year instead of its first year, and so it produces a flower shoot. Now there may be people out there that argue the rights and wrongs of all that, but from experience you generally will get some onions grown from sets that will go to seed. If you grow your onions from seed and seed alone and not from sets, it's very rare that that year you will produce an onion, and it's unusual for it to actually go to seed, because it doesn't go to seed until the second year. I hope that makes all sense to you. Anyway, right, on to the nitty gritty. And what I want to do is we're going to show you what I usually do with my overwintering onion sets. This variety I've grown now for several years, and it's been very successful, and it's a medium flavour. It's not, well, it says it's a medium flavour, but they do pretty strong onions, and it's known as a Troy F1. Now I will be doing another video regarding collecting your own seeds, and I'll go more into this, but the one thing that you do need to know, should you decide to grow your onions on to produce seed, the one thing that is important is it says here F1, Troy F1. Any seed, any plant, packet of seeds that you buy that has F1 onto it, on the label, basically you can't grow seeds from that plant. They will produce seed, but generally it will produce a blind plant. In other words, you won't get another vegetable from it. So it's a point to remember. So anyway, right, moving on. Let's take a look at what I normally do. So here we go. I'm sure I don't need to show you how to plant an onion, but this is one of the things I do. I don't put them straight into the ground. I put them in seed trays, as you can see, in these pots, and the reason for this is I get them going. I like to get them going before I actually plant them directly into the ground, and one of the reasons being is that you often hear you have to cover the onion sets when you first put them in to stop the birds picking them out. Well, it's my belief that they're not actually after the onions. I think the roots grow fairly rapidly, and for some reason worms seem to like to get down underneath the roots of the onion, and that's what the birds are after. They pull the onion up out of the ground, and they're after the worms and grubs that are underneath. So my view is, well, if we can get them going first so that there's a good strong root system, then the birds can't lift them up. So first of all though, before we get to this stage, what I want to show you is my little tip. And we take, you will see when you get the onion sets, a lot of them, this is the bag of onion sets that I got, and a lot of them are quite clean and open, but you also get them when you get them, and this applies to all sets, not just overwintering sets, but when you put them in the spring, where they've been dried in the skins, you get this little bit here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, they are their life cycle is controlled by daylight, sunlight, and this little skin on the top does actually hold them back. And I have discovered that if we take a little knife and we trim off the top, and what you need to do very, very carefully is just peel back the dead dry skin, and you need to get right back. There we go, you can see the tip there, nice green onion tip that's underneath that, and you need to expose that to sunlight or daylight, and you will find that that will get going pretty much at twice the speed as if you plant them in that state. And to prove my point, exactly 3 weeks ago, let me just take this one off again, show you. There we go. Now you need to get back to good green onion. I usually use a craft knife or a scalpel for this, but there we go. But by exposing this tip, it will get going almost immediately. And in good true Blue Peter fashion, I can show you, I planted 2 trays at exactly the same time, which was exactly 3 weeks ago, and you can see there where I've not taken the tips out, I've just left them as they come. That one is just starting to break through, but all the rest are still covered. Okay, now let's take a look at the other tray, and remember I planted these exactly the same time, and that was 3 weeks ago, and that is the difference. You can see obviously this one is quite clear. These are well on their way. These are also on their way, and that is the difference. And just to show you, I'm going to take my knife and give you some idea of how rapid these things grow. If we lift this out, and you should find, oh yeah, quite a huge root system already developed. This won't do the onion any harm. I can plant this. There we go. Now I will be taking these to the allotment and be planting these in, and you can see there what a fantastic root system it's already developed, and I can now bury that right up to the tip, and the birds will have a struggle to pull that out the ground. I will probably still cover them over anyway, just to be on the safe side, but the point I'm trying to make is that by exposing the tip, how quick the plants develop, and it gives them a chance to get ahead, way ahead. Now what I will be doing is I will plant both these trays in and see whether there will be a difference. We will show the progress of both lots through the season next year, and see whether the exposure of the onion with these will make any difference to their growth to these. So this is going to be an ongoing project, and I'll catch up with you again once I go down and plant these in, because there is a few points I need to make when we plant them. Catch you then. Okay, here we are on the allotment, and this year I'm trying something new. You can see here there are two greenhouse bags, grow bags. I decided to grow my onions in these because I've had some problems with onion root rot. So this year I thought we'll try something different and see whether we get some better results growing them almost like raised beds. So here we go. This is the onion trays I showed you earlier, and all we're going to do is put these in. And what we want to do, another thing about onions is that the more you space them out, the larger they possibly will grow. So we're looking, that's about 6 inches. So we'll be looking to put them roughly anything between 4 to 6 inches apart. Very simple. Take these two out. So all I will do, lift it out in the, and simply put it in there. Now cover the hole pretty much, because as that grows that will rise up. And what I've put in here is a mixture of general compost and a sort of a mixture of I would say 2/3 compost, 1/3 general topsoil. And the topsoil is not from my allotment, it's bagged topsoil, processed topsoil from the garden centre, because I've had problems with onion root rot. I need to try and keep all this clean, because once it's in the soil, the fungus it becomes a sort of permanent member, and you can't grow your onions in the same place for several years. So we're going to try this. So like I say, you can see there the root ball, nice green shoots coming up, and I'm going to put them about 6 inches apart. That push them in and do one more, and there we go, nice green shoot. No fuss. And what I shall also do for the winter is probably fleece this round just to keep the soil a bit warmer, but it should be okay. So there we go, I shall plant these up, and we will follow the progress how they go through the winter. I will do somewhere in maybe January, we'll take a look and see how well they've grown, or not at all. And we'll see how they develop next year, and hopefully we'll have some nice large onions. Okay.